With just 3 years remaining in President Macron's second and final term in office, he aims to demonstrate that he still possesses the energy and fresh thinking that propelled him into the presidency in 2017. He seeks to counter the perception of being a lame duck leader and address the challenges facing Europe, including the threat posed by Russia in Ukraine. President Emmanuel Macron made a much-awaited speech last week at the same Sorbonne University amphitheater where he gave a speech in 2017. Before we continue, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel so you get updates on Macron and the European Union. This speech was not in Grenada or Kiev, as his team had suggested in earlier months. This is also where the historian Ernest Renan, in 1882, delivered a famous lecture, What is a Nation? Amid France's struggle with territorial loss and the emergence of a hard-edged Germanic definition of nationhood, Renan came to the conclusion that nations were not permanent, just like humans, and he projected that a European Union would eventually replace them on this continent. Macron echoed this notion in his speech when he cautioned that Europe would not last forever and could end. He outlined an astounding array of grand concepts and innovative technology solutions to tackle this menace, but he was unable to present a convincing plan or grand bargain that would have brought the rest of Europe around to his vision. He claimed that China and the US, who were both prepared to confront one another and threaten the international multilateral system, were now openly challenging the global order. This presents the ancient continent with a significant dilemma. Macron emphasized the necessity of fortifying European defenses in the face of such escalating geopolitical rivalry and uncertainties regarding US commitment to Europe's security. Though he hinted that this might entail creating a new long-range missile strike capability and constructing a suitable European air defense system, he did not make it clear whether this meant joining the European Sky Shield initiative, spearheaded by Germany and including 21 nations that intend to install US-Israeli systems. He also underlined the importance of nuclear deterrence for the security of Europe and made hints about extending Franco-British nuclear cooperation to other European nations. A future Labour government in the UK might be interested in this approach, but in Germany and most of Eastern Europe, it is still largely frowned upon. Generally speaking, Macron has not eliminated the impression that the main goals of his policies are to support France's military-industrial interests and stabilize the declining strength of a declining mid-sized nation. There have been proposals for large investments in energy, technology, and climate change in economic policy. Macron called for a radical expansion of the EU budget, an extension of the post-pandemic recovery fund, or changes to the European Stability Mechanism in order to bring about a quantum leap in fiscal integration in Europe. He did not address the need for increased taxation powers at the EU level and for stricter fiscal discipline at the national level, especially in France. He also urged for the inclusion of growth and climate objectives in the European Central Bank's mission for the first time, but he neglected to discuss the essential concessions and trade-offs to make this a reality. Along with advocating for deregulation and national flexibility, he also promoted the establishment of a European industrial policy and the strengthening of the single market. Macron urged for the inclusion of growth and climate objectives in the European Central Bank's mission for the first time, but he neglected to discuss the essential concessions and trade-offs to make this a reality. Along with advocating for deregulation and national flexibility, he promoted the establishment of a European industrial policy and the strengthening of the single market. Macron has a compelling vision for European unification, but grandstanding speeches alone won't cut it. He must face the political realities of Europe and present a convincing theory of transformation. Germany views European sovereignty as primarily based on democratic decision-making procedures rather than governmental authority. Macron acknowledged that his 2017 objective for democratization has largely failed. How can European unity be attained in an expanding EU when political forces are involved in identity politics and cultural politics focused on migration and the promotion of a fictitious European culture? It was believed that Macron would establish a new positive political identity for the future of Europe by taking inspiration from Renan's rejection of a natural order based on race, language, or religion. This is still arguably the most important subject in front of the European elections in June, which will probably bring to light the stark differences across a fractured continent. Bear in mind that the French also depend on Africa for several minerals. Now, they've been chased out of Africa, and they're now realizing that it's hard for them. Macron is now urging stronger defenses and economic reforms to strengthen France. French diplomacy in Africa weakened considerably in 2023 as former allies steered their foreign policies elsewhere in the wake of military coups and general political upheaval. A new law making it harder for foreigners to immigrate to France has compounded matters. French interests in Africa face monumental challenges in 2024, especially following the toppling of leaders in Niger and Burkina Faso, which, like Mali, are former French military strongholds in the rest of Sahel region. A lengthy partnership with Gabon, a key player in Central Africa, was similarly brought to an end by an abrupt coup. France is seeing a watershed moment in its ties with Africa. Reasons why Macron wants stronger defenses. Some even believe France is encouraging terrorism in its former colonies to keep those people coming to them for help, which France will then profit from. France and Emmanuel Macron resisted leaving Niger because they had been exploiting resources from Niger for a long time by installing puppet leaders who will follow their orders. Moscow has not lowered its aspirations in the global south despite Russia's armed conflicts in Ukraine. Over the past year, Russia has given the Sahel region of Africa more attention. Moscow is invading countries, such as Mali and Burkina Faso, using the renowned Wagner mercenary group, which is now known as Africa Corps. They are capitalizing on policy gaps in the West, growing anti-European sentiment, and the ongoing incapacity of local and international actors to tackle the root causes of instability in the region. Although Moscow pays a lot of attention to its proxies in Africa, its influence is not very deep or wide-ranging across the continent. However, Moscow's increasing influence in the Sahel has alarmed Washington due to the rising instability there. But there aren't many realistic ways for the Joe Biden government to respond. Particularly in the Sahel, jihadist insurgencies have further damaged public confidence in governments, which has made military involvement more likely. As a result of this, the military leaders in Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali have all been working hand in glove to protect their various countries. They formed an alliance called the Alliance of Sahel States. Their withdrawal from the economic community of West African states adds another layer of complexity to the situation. France is not happy with all that is going on. Days after Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger announced they were quitting the ECOWAS, Burkina Faso's military ruler Ibrahim Traoré was already naming his next target. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the man leading Burkina Faso since the September 2022 coup, suggested in an interview that his country might soon abandon the CFA franc as part of an effort to break all ties that kept them in slavery. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have repeatedly shown that they value autonomy over expediency. Their position on the euro-pegged CFA franc appears to be unwavering, even though analysts and specialists think that pulling out of the CFA would be riskier and more difficult than pulling out of ECOWAS. In November of last year, the finance ministers of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger declared that they would take the idea of creating a monetary union under consideration. All three countries' top leaders have stated that they are in favor of abolishing the currency, though to varying degrees. Among other things, they suggested setting up an investment bank and a common stabilization fund. Macron is now speaking for the whole of Europe because he wants them to work hand in glove and exploit more countries. His speech will, however, be seen as reassuring to his election camp, led by the unknown Valérie Hayer, because it places France at the heart of the European debate and emphasizes Mr. Macron's preeminence over other EU leaders. The danger is that it also exposes the Renaissance as a one-horse show, totally dependent on the president's interventions to make any kind of mark. Take note that French President Emmanuel Macron will visit Germany in May and will spend more days than planned with Chancellor Olaf Scholz in a sign of their ambition to bring more unity to EU relations. After his already confirmed state visit to Germany on May 26 to 28, Macron may make another trip to the country in June. This may indicate that despite rumors of intense disagreement between the two leaders, ties between France and Germany are still strong. Macron's stay might be extended due to a new Franco-German ministerial conference scheduled for Merseburg, north of Berlin, at the end of May. However, the urgent demands made by President Emmanuel Macron for more robust defenses and economic reforms serve as a warning about the possible threats that Europe may face. His prognosis that Europe could die emphasizes the necessity of taking preventative action to preserve the stability and prosperity of the area. Macron acknowledges the changing geopolitical environment and the escalating tensions across the world by highlighting the significance of strengthening Europe's defensive capabilities. Europe can defend its interests and establish its position in the global arena by fortifying defense alliances and investing in state-of-the-art military hardware. Macron has issued a call to action, imploring both European leaders and individuals to acknowledge the gravity of the situation and work together to ensure the future of Europe. In his opinion, to secure Europe's existence in a world growing more complicated, it is imperative that these reforms be put into place quickly and successfully. The question now is, how are African leaders going to react to this speech? Do you think they will take this lying down? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel. Turn on notifications too so you get notified whenever we upload videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.